Today we are diving into the foundational concepts of real property versus personal property for the national portion of the real estate exam. To pass this exam, you must understand that real property is defined as the land, everything beneath it to the center of the earth, everything above it to infinity, and everything permanently attached to it. Personal property, on the other hand, refers to items that are movable and not permanently fixed, which are often called chattels or personalty. Think of real property as the land and the house itself, whereas personal property is the patio furniture or an area rug. On the exam, you will frequently encounter questions about how an item transitions from personal property to real property, and this process is known as annexation. For instance, when a homeowner buys a ceiling fan at a store, it is personal property, but once they screw it into the ceiling, it becomes a fixture and is classified as real property. Conversely, the act of severance turns real property back into personal property, such as when a tree is cut down to be sold as firewood. The distinction between these two categories matters most during a real estate transaction because real property is transferred using a deed, while personal property is transferred using a bill of sale. If you see a question asking which document transfers ownership of a refrigerator that is not built in or a freestanding microwave, the correct answer is the bill of sale. A major area of confusion on the exam involves fixtures, which are items that started as personal property but have been attached in a way that makes them part of the real estate. To determine if an item is a fixture, you should remember the mnemonic Maria. This stands for the method of attachment, the adaptability of the item for use with the property, the relationship of the parties, the intention of the person who attached it, and the agreement between the parties. The method of attachment looks at how permanent the installation is, so if an item is bolted or glued, it is likely a fixture. Adaptability asks if the item was custom-made for the house, like window shutters or a custom-fit shelving unit. Intention is often considered the most important factor in a legal dispute, but for the exam, you should keep a close eye on the agreement. If the sales contract explicitly states that a specific item stays or goes, that written agreement overrides all other tests. Another common trap involves trade fixtures, which are items installed by a tenant for use in their business, such as a pizza oven in a restaurant or a dental chair in a clinic. Unlike residential fixtures, trade fixtures remain the personal property of the tenant and can be removed before the lease expires. If they are not removed by the end of the lease, they may become the property of the landlord through a process called accession. But the general rule you must remember for the exam is that trade fixtures are personal property. You must also distinguish between fructus naturales and fructus industriales. Fructus naturales include trees and perennial shrubs that do not require annual cultivation, and these are considered real property. Fructus industriales, which are also known as emblements, include annual crops like corn or wheat, which are considered personal property. Even if the land is sold, the farmer who planted the crops usually has the legal right to return and harvest them one time because they are personal property. Watch out for trick wording regarding mobile homes. Generally, a mobile home is personal property until it is permanently attached to a foundation and the owner files the necessary paperwork to reclassify it as real property. If the exam describes an item that is attached, but the question asks what happens if the seller takes it without permission, the focus is on whether that item was legally a fixture. Always look for the word permanent and the concept of immovability when identifying real property. By mastering the Maria acronym and understanding the difference between a deed and a bill of sale, you will be well prepared for any property classification questions on the national portion of the exam.